Well, well. You're not the magical inquisition. Really nice bait they're throwing out, though. They picked the one that might make me consider coming out from under my rock for a bit. A very good choice, definitely worth getting caught over. I know it's you. I know you wouldn't stoop so low as to take on that kind of humiliating task from them. You're too smart for that. Too smart for them. Any kind of potential is wasted working for a bunch of stubborn fools who refuse to move past their archaic and frankly insidious traditions. But I guess there is some sort of comfort in willful ignorance. Honestly, I'd be shocked if they ever trusted you to begin with. Sins of the father and all that. Oh, for shame! I would have thought you'd put what I taught you to good use. Then again, it's probably better this way. I never did teach you how to survive out in the wilderness on your own, or how to start a band of rebels that are willing to fight in the name of heresy. No, no. I taught you better than that. You've done well to not tarnish your name. Got yourself a home, and a whole life ahead of you. That's the best thing I could have asked for. But what else can I expect from someone who's learned from the best? So, my darling, how are you doing? I must admit it's been far too long. About me? Well, I've been here and there, just spending my days being productive. Same old, same old. I might have come up with a new spell or two. It's a bit tricky without any assistance, but I've managed. I don't mind much. It beats trying to keep people quiet, and without all the extra work on the side, I can use my time how I want, so it evens out. It's too bad they lump together researchers with academias at every institution. All that time spent grading could have been put to better use. There's not much we can do about our situation now, other than make up for lost time. No, of course not. Don't think for a second that I have any regrets teaching you. My students are my legacy, after all. Without you, my research would die along with me, most of it probably rotting away in some vault back at the Grand Inquisitor's office as it is. And it's not like they can get much out of it without a proper decor. Why am I not surprised? Now there's an idea. Cipher. Class would have been fun to teach, wouldn't it have been? That would have required a lot of lessons, plan development, extra certifications, contacting the library for a suitable textbook, finding an open classroom with a fitting time slot, and whatever other nonsensical things they need to approve the new courses. I must admit, I am flattered to hear that they think I'd squeeze an extra muddle into one of my existing classes on a notoriously difficult subject, then expect my students to master it on top of completing their pre-existing coursework and retain that information years later. Even I would be surprised if any of you remembered anything a week after exams in an actual course dedicated to it. Well, I don't doubt your intelligence, but I know how students are. But I must admit, that is very funny coming from them. A bunch of puritanical inquisitors desperate to learn the secrets of dark magic, and willing to use the progeny they've impressed their traditions on to succeed. That sounds a bit hypocritical, and dare I say, heretical. Now, if only they'd admit their curiosity instead of feigning ignorance to keep us as the villains. I hear honesty is a respectable trait within their doctrine. So what did they get out of you? How to give someone a cold? No demonstrating on the interrogation team? That's too bad. Probably didn't want you to make fools out of them. What'd they do then? Grill you for a couple hours? Poor thing. Did they at least feed you? Not completely heartless then. Still, having your time wasted like that isn't fun. Seems like a waste on their part, too. How could they expect you to know where I was after all this time? Oh, I see. Well, that'll do. I guess that was pretty obvious. You always were my favorite. Such a bright one. You made everything look so easy. I really wish I could have kept you around for another year. Believe me, I would have loved to bring you along as an apprentice to teach you more if I wasn't going to drag you away from a comfortable life, especially on that short notice. Simply keeping in touch would have been nice as well, but there aren't many ways to do that. And I didn't want us to get caught, darling. I wouldn't exactly call this keeping in touch, but it's more in line with what they would consider enough to figure out my whereabouts. I guess they should have waited until today, before they interrogated you, obviously. Or just taking a stroll on the outskirts of town, but maybe I'm giving them a bit too much credit. Just the fact that that's all it took for you to run into me while they've got nothing to show for their efforts after all these years is a nice reminder of why I left in the first place. It's a miracle the system even functions to begin with. Well, what else could you have been doing out here? Unless you've become a bounty hunter. There's not many good reasons to be out late this side of town. No, I didn't think so. Surely you weren't out here looking for me unless the Inquisition really did send you. I wonder if they're watching us right now as we speak, hiding in the shadows. Maybe tomorrow the newspaper headlines will read "The Mad Mage Slain. His neck cut from ear to ear." I trust you not to sell me out. I know you wouldn't do that, but I don't believe they wouldn't resort to tracking you. Things like today happen, you know. Oh, I can find out very easily if they are. Now, what if I said I'd tell you the secret to decoding the cipher I put on all of my magical artifacts and ancient runes and spells, right here and now? Of course, just like that. Think about it. If they're here watching, they'll make their presence known very quickly if I do. There's just one problem, though. If I tell you the secret in front of them, then you'll be under their watch for the rest of your days. They might even dispose of you if you were to find out their true intentions. Maybe they have interest in dark magic. Maybe they don't. But we'll find out soon enough if you agree to listen. That doesn't have to be your only fate. I could always steal you away, obviously. It's the only way to keep you safe. Knowing my secret it's dangerous. And I can only guarantee you'll make it out alive if you agree to come with me, but that means saying goodbye to your life here. It's up to you what you'd rather do. You can be at the mercy of the Inquisition, which could mean an early demise, a rope around your neck. You can run away with me and dedicate your life to the study of dark magic, which will brand you a heretic and exile you from your home. Or you can turn around right now, go back to the life you've been living. You'll have your family, your friends, a job, all anyone could ever ask for. And you can rest assured you will never see me again after this. Can't have them thinking they can use you to find me, after all. My dear, if I told you, then you'd have a target put on your back for sure. Regardless of whether you decide to come with me or not, the only difference is that if you do, I can say with certainty your fate won't be that of a burnt corpse in the square. Let me ask you something. Would you really give up a life full of possibilities just to know how to open a book you'll never read? Or are you more interested in the prospect of learning dark magic than I originally thought? Or, or is it that you'd prefer a life with me? Which is it then? Oh, was I wrong before? I would have expected your life to be full of success. And what's it like for you then? I see. I guess I understand the impact I've had on your reputation. Can you at least find work? Ridiculous. So much potential and you're not even allowed to use it. What's the point of all those years spent in academia if everyone will just turn you away? Such a waste. I've done you a great disservice, haven't I? No. You shouldn't have to pay for my actions, especially when you had little choice in who was responsible for your education. It isn't fair that the prospect of a life in exile sounds reasonable by comparison. If you're certain, then there isn't much else I can say. I'm willing to take you in, if that's what you want. But before we head off, I need to be absolutely certain we aren't being tracked. Yes, revealing the secrets of my cipher should drag anyone out. Well, if somebody was truly listening, they'd learn that it's not as simple as knowing. I placed a seal on my notes that require a special incantation to open. Once it does, it will reveal a translation of the cipher. But not just anyone can recite it. It has to be me and a very specific person. But since I would never do this in front of the Inquisition directly, they would need to wait for me to say it out loud when they think I'm not aware of them. Still, the book must be in close proximity to us for it to work. So if they have some semblance of intelligence, they will have brought it with them. My proof will be the book itself. When I recite the incantation, it will make itself known if it's nearby. Well, I wonder how. I can't say else. Any onlookers trying to find a way to keep me from knowing its whereabouts. Uh, Not that it will work, but they can try. One last chance. Do you want to hear it or not? Just know that your life will change the moment you do. Alright then, listen carefully. I, the author, dedicate this book to my dearest beloved, who need only speak your name to gain my wisdom. And then the second person answers. I think it's obvious whose name needs to be said. It's yours. You really were my favorite. You were always my favorite. I wouldn't have been able to show it back then. The headmasters would have run me out sooner if he'd known I had feelings for a student. No, I had to make sure I spent all the time I could with you, even if it meant keeping all those thoughts to myself. But I suspect the Inquisition already knows. Why else would they think you knew where I was? They probably thought we were lovers. I have to ask, does that disgust you? Knowing that your teacher was lusting after you in the classroom? You might actually be more keen on a public execution rather than coming along with me after hearing all that. Is that so? Well, I am flattered. I'm flattered that I caught your attention. There's no way I could have acted on those feelings while you were my student. Even I have standards. It would have been improper. But right now, it's just a mage wandering around in the woods, and you're just a citizen taking an evening stroll on the outskirts of town. There's nothing improper about those two being together, is there? Mm, mm. I was right to think so highly of you. Now, I would like for you to finish the incantation with me. Let us begin then, one more time. I, the author, dedicate this book to my dearest beloved, who needs only speak your name to gain my wisdom. Now say your name. Looks like we're safe. Of course, I never once doubted you. And I bet the Inquisition wishes they had. But I hope you won't doubt me after I tell you this. I lied about the incantation. Well, only partially. It begins with a dedication. And that should have made the book's presence known if it were nearby, but the part about you isn't there. I couldn't risk reciting it in full. Those notes can be dangerous in the wrong hands. But know that I didn't add that line about you without purpose. Think about it as your last warning about what you're getting yourself into. Living with someone who's in love with you isn't always ideal if you don't share their feelings. I suppose I'm very lucky that you do. Mm, mm, mm. I believe it's time to say goodbye to your life. Take one last look at this place, because this is the last time you'll see it. Take all the time you need, darling. You ready? Come then, let me show you a world where you can live up to your fullest potential. Hello, everybody. My name is the Man of Culture. If you like this, make sure to comment, like, subscribe. I consider donating as it funds the channel and everything that I do. And check out my Patreon, which is filled with spicy content for all of my lovely little viewers. I wish everyone the best. Make sure to join me this Saturday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, don't forget the competition has ended, but if you go into the community section of my YouTube, or if you go to the poll section on my Discord, or if you go onto my Twitter, you can find a link to the vote. Choose between 3 options and choose my lore. Isn't that amazing? I hope everyone has an amazing day. Also, the stream this weekend should be way better. I got a new controller, so it's not bugging out anymore. And I want to give a big shout out to our loyal Tier 3 Patreon subscribers. Thank you to Hybrid Sisters, Sweethyjinx, Star Espersen, and ace.cries. I love every single one of you, darlings. Good night. Have a magical evening.